The tale of Little Red Riding Hood is a well-known children's story that has been told for generations across Europe. The story has been changed considerably in various retellings and subjected to numerous modern adaptations. This is the true, much darker tale of Little Red Riding Hood. The tale's origins can be traced back to several pre-17th century European folk tales. The two best known versions were written by Charles Perrault and the Brothers Grimm. The story centres around a girl called Little Red Riding Hood, named after the red-hooded cape that she wears. The girl walks through the woods to deliver wine and cake to her sickly grandmother. In the Grimm's version, her mother had ordered her to stay strictly on the path. A stalking wolf wants to eat the girl and the food in the basket. After he inquires as to where she is going, she tells him. He suggests that she should pick some flowers as a present for her grandmother, which she does. As she does so, the wolf goes to the grandmother's house and gains entry by pretending to be Red Riding Hood. He swallows the grandmother whole, or in some versions locks her in a closet and waits for the girl disguised as the grandmother. When Little Red Riding Hood arrives, she notices the strange appearance of her grandmother. She says, "What a deep voice you have." "The better to greet you with," responds the wolf. "Goodness, what big eyes you have." "The better to see you with." "And what big hands you have." "The better to embrace you with," responded the wolf. Lastly, "What a big mouth you have." "The better to eat you with," the wolf responds, at which point the wolf jumps out of the bed and eats her as well. Then he falls asleep. In Charles Perrault's version of the story, first to be published, the tale ends there. In later and better known versions, the story continues. A woodcutter in the French version, or a hunter in the Brothers Grimm and traditional German versions, comes to the rescue with an axe and cuts open the sleeping wolf. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother emerge shaken but unharmed. Then they fill the wolf's body with heavy stones. The wolf awakens and attempts to flee, but the stones cause him to collapse and die. In the Grimm's version, the wolf leaves the house and tries to drink out of a well, but the stones in his stomach cause him to fall in and drown. The origins of the Little Red Riding Hood story can be traced to several likely pre-17th century versions from various European countries. These early variations of the tale differ from the currently known version. The antagonist is not always a wolf, but sometimes a werewolf, making these tales relevant to the werewolf trials, which were similar to witch trials of the time. The wolf usually leaves the grandmother's blood and flesh for the girl to eat, who then unwittingly cannibalizes her own grandmother. Furthermore, the wolf was also known to ask her to remove her clothing and toss it into the fire. In some versions, the wolf eats the girl after she gets into bed with him, and the story ends there. In others, she sees through his disguise and tries to escape, complaining to her grandmother that she needs to defecate and would not wish to do so in the bed. The wolf reluctantly lets her go, tied to a piece of string so she does not get away. The girl slips the string over something else and runs off. In this story, she escapes with no help from any male or older female figure, instead using her own cunning, or, in some versions, the help of a younger boy who she happens to run into. Sometimes, though more rarely, the Red Hood is often non-existent. In other tellings of the story, the wolf chases over Little Red Riding Hood. She escapes with the help of some laundresses who spread a sheet taunt over a river so that she may escape. When the wolf follows Red over the bridge of cloth, the sheet is released and the wolf drowns in the river. And in another version, the wolf is pushed into the fire while he is preparing the flesh of the grandmother to be eaten by Little Red Riding Hood. The tale of Little Red Riding Hood that we hear today has been heavily sanitised from its darker origins, and will no likely continue to do so as the tale is retold over the generations to come.